Just a sound check, please.
Which angle makes me look most massive? So.
So today we've got Jeremy here. I've known him for a while now. He's been a trainer. I think I first met him in probably 2006 or 2007.
Yep.
At Fitness First in Melbourne. And I think when I first started working with him, he looked a little bit more like Brad Pitt off Fight Club. And now he looks a little bit more like Dwayne Johnson off Fast and the Furious. So there's been obviously a lot of water under the bridge between now and then. But I wanted to get Jeremy in here today because someone I value, and he's got a really strong work ethic as a trainer, but also as him training himself as well. Is there anything I've missed or?
No, I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I graduated university and then I started working at QB straight away, and Adam was one of the big dogs at the time, so it was good to have guys like Adam around to sort of almost set a standard for what was expected of a personal trainer back then. So it was good to start there.
Yeah, and so initially when you started, you obviously you've gone through a whole mirage of different training styles and experiences as well. What initially sort of drew you in to start working? And I guess obviously because you knew you studied exercise sports science, but you knew obviously you wanted to pursue a career in that area.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I was working at a suburban gym in the western suburbs of Melbourne when I first started, but I wasn't personal training, I was sort of a gym instructor. And then walking into Fitness First QB, and as you know, it's quite plush, good trainers, good people, the gym looks nice. I was sort of blown away, and I sort of just fell into the role of a personal trainer. Yeah. A good friend of mine, Jackson, was working there also, as you know, at the time, and Ryan Wilkin reached out to me and got me in for an interview, and the rest is history. But I guess it was always my intention to go back to university at some point and do a master's degree and then end up working with a sport team or something like that. But I guess in personal training, you sort of have that flexibility to design your own programs, your own nutrition plans. And I guess for me, looking back at it, when I inquired about working with elite sport clubs, you really don't get that flexibility. You're almost like a rep counter for the next 10 years until you're able to sort of design your own stuff, which sort of, I'm a little bit too impatient for that. So that's why personal training sort of ignited my interests. And from then it's just a passion that's grown and grown. Yeah.
And so looking back, obviously you were into training, but where did you develop that? Was that through athletics as a kid? Was that football or what?
Yeah. So I ran track when I was much younger and cross country, so I was obviously a lot lighter framed. And then the natural progression from there was into a team sport, which was Aussie rules. And then I was still very light framed, so I was good at the cardio stuff, but no good when it came to the weight stuff. And I think I can remember a turning point in my mind, actually, when I was in year 12. We had like a max bench press competition. And there must have been maybe 15 kilos on the side of the bar. And it wasn't like an Olympic bar, it was a skinny bar. And I'd never done a bench press in my life. And I did 2.5 reps. And it was miserable. And from then on, I said, right, I'm going to be getting a gym membership and I'm going to get stronger. And it just grew from there.
How old was that when you
I must have been 16 at the time, 17 years old. I first stepped into a gym the day I finished high school at 17.
Yeah, and so it's obviously a pivotal moment for you.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a moment when I was like, I want to be better at this weight training. Obviously, it transfers to sport at the time, which was my priority. But obviously when you start to see your body change and, I mean, girls start noticing a bit more, I really enjoyed it. And I started enjoying the training aspect more so than the actual playing the sport. And that's when eventually I'd stopped playing team sport and just concentrated on weight training and lifting in the gym.
With the early inspirations, like obviously that was a pivotal moment for you to get involved. I know we'll speak about later, like mentors and people that you mentor, but was there someone initially that took you under their wing and said, Jeremy, this is how you do it, or did you learn off them?
I mean, not in the suburban gym I worked at. There was a few guys there who were bigger than me, but they never really offered much guidance, I suppose. But definitely walking into QV, as you know, there was a really great group of guys and everyone was sort of helping each other out. So guys like yourself, Ryan Wilkin, Mark Luxon, Lance Piccioni, Jackson as well, those sort of guys sort of introduced me to what I guess personal training could be what weight training was, and the rest, and Stephen Chook as well, and the rest I sort of just mentored myself.
Yeah. And where did you develop that sort of strong sense of identity and work ethic that I think you've always noticed about you? You've always been incredibly focused on obviously business, but also on your own training yourself and furthering your education as well. Where did you get that from?
I mean, I guess I strongly believe you're a product of your environment. And obviously I spent a lot of time with Jackson, who's in the same boat as me, works a lot of hours. He's always keen on developing his skills as a trainer and personal development stuff. So I guess being around those guys, you don't really have an option. You know, it just becomes part and parcel of the job is to put in the hours and get the best at your job. And I've always had a strong desire to be better at everything that I do. And if football was my passion, then I wanted to get better. And when weight training and I guess bodybuilding to a certain degree became a passion, then I wanted to get better at that.
Yeah. And just touch on, I'd just like you to speak about a little bit the alpha males that we used to work with at Fitness First. It was like almost like a zoo. These sort of guys between sort of 19 to 20 and 19 to 30. But yeah, just.
Well, you know what? I firmly believe it was a really, really, really good environment to work in. I mean, it was almost like exactly that. It was like a boys' club. It was almost like being in a footy team or a footy club all year round. I mean, I never really felt like we were competing with each other. I guess if you're working in the chain gym, in essence, you are competing for clients, but never felt that way. Everyone was sort of looking after each other and helping each other and offering advice. And obviously myself was one of the younger guys when I started. So I was always open to hearing what other people had to say. Even guys like, Brendan Field at the time was like just a huge...
Big bodybuilder.
Big man. Big, and to have someone like him and be able to train with him on a daily basis was really eye-opening and really a privilege for me. It's something I'll always be grateful for him is just having, on 5 days a week, we're training together. You're training with someone who's seen it all. He's been around in the trenches for 10, 15 years. I mean, that sort of knowledge is invaluable.
And that's sort of like, in a way, unofficial mentorship with those guys.
I mean, yeah, exactly. There was no official, but I definitely looked up to him in terms of like, he was always doing good quality personal training sessions, or what I thought, and he always had a good book of clients.
And he was a professional guy as well.
Absolutely, the ultimate professional. And with his nutrition and everything, he was always very regimented. And I guess that's sort of something that I adopted as well from him is you come to the age where the party season's sort of finishing and it's time to sort of knuckle down and sort out what you want with your life. And someone like Brendan and Jackson really helped me sort of line the stars up there.
So since arriving in Dubai, when did you first arrive?
I've been here for 3.5 years now. So I arrived in April when I was 28 years old, so almost 29. So yeah, it's been about 3.5 years now. Yeah,
and a lot's happened. You've achieved a lot. Just looking back at you when you first got here, did you think you'd be where you are now?
No, I sort of feel in my first 3 months was really, even 6 months was really challenging. I sort of arrived at a time where not the city was slow, but it was Ramadan, coming into Ramadan. So not many people were sort of starting with a trainer at the time. So I was pretty dry and pretty bored, and going from doing maybe 30 or 40 paid hours a week at QV to doing maybe 5 to 10 a week was really, really hard to deal with. But I guess you get a couple of good clients and they sort of give you 1 or 2 more clients. But I think referrals came from people in the gym seeing me train my clients rather than actual referrals from, and I got a lot of referrals from one in particular client. But yeah, I sort of feel that displaying your skills that often I sort of feel in this country is a little bit lacking was one of the reasons I was sort of able to build a good client base in, I guess, I would say 18 months was probably the time frame where we really got really busy.
Yeah. And did you have like a direct set of goals or a plan when you got here? You said in 6 weeks' time or 6 months' time, this is where I want to be. Did you have like methods that you drew on yourself that, or you just
to be honest, I wish I did have that much structure, but I really didn't. I sort of just came and didn't expect it to be handed to me on a silver platter, but somewhat had an idea that someone would say, "Here are your clients, you train them." And like I said, it was an eye opener going from doing a lot of work not much work. And I guess as a personal trainer, you hold your value on how many clients you have and how much work you do. So it was quite a hard pill to swallow to start with, but I'm really glad I stuck it out. I think there was a period of about 3 months where I was on the verge of calling it quits and going home.
Yeah.
I can actually remember having a conversation with myself in my head at Christmas time that I'd buy a 2-way flight and not catch the second way home. And I was trying to think of ways I could explain to Jackson the reasons why I wasn't going to come back. But I think my mum came in November, and she sort of encouraged me to say, you know what, you sacrificed a lot to come here. You gave up your flat, you gave up your business, you had a girlfriend at the time, you sacrificed
Mind
all
you,
that.
you had a very successful business and you're doing well
Yeah,
in
I
Australia.
was doing well, and I was comfortable in Melbourne. You know, I wasn't under any financial stress, or I didn't have any reason to leave the country. It was more just a drive to pursue something a little bit outside the box. I always had a desire to live overseas, but never really knew exactly where. And then, my mum and my dad both said, look, stick it out for another at least 6 months and see what you happen. And almost after I got back after Christmas, the penny sort of dropped and things just started to fall into place. And I got a few really good referrals and that, and just snowballed from there. And I'm really lucky, I guess. I think the turning point was I moved to a new gym that opened about 18 months ago now. And we were one of the first ones in the door. And when that happened, my business just really, really took off.
Yeah. And so just touching on sort of goal setting and being clear with what you're trying to achieve, you said that you would have wished you had been a little bit more specific. Is there things that you do now? Have you learnt off someone? Is there a method that you use for setting your targets, or you just write them down, or what's the go?
I sort of have, I have a sort of an idea of how many one-on-one sessions I like to complete on a monthly or weekly basis, and that's sort of a bare minimum. And then now I've got 2 guys who are working for me, so my main focus is not so much on
yourself,
my own business. It's sort of, well, it is my business, but referring them guys and getting them busy and improving their training skills.
Yeah. So nothing specific, like in terms of tangible things. That
Not
you
really.
use?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. And what if you're working with your client? So this is coming back to perhaps more you as the coach and you as the trainer. But if you're working with a client, when you first meet them, do you get specific in terms of what they want to achieve? Do you set a timeline? How does that sort of work with you?
I mean, most people have an idea of what they want when they come into a gym. Rarely someone says, in my case, rarely someone says, I just want to be healthy or I just want to be fit. Normally they have, look, I want to get in this sort of shape as soon as possible. So I guess in terms of sort of trying to set a goal that's realistic for them is saying, well, this is the month plan, the 2-month plan, the 3-month plan, and setting them mini goals to achieve as opposed to going all out. But again, a lot of my clients aren't looking to be
The next physique.
No, they're not. They're only looking to get in reasonable shape and not sacrifice their lifestyle doing so. So a lot of them have families and they have wives and they travel a lot. So often getting to a gym and eating 6 meals a day of chicken and broccoli is not going to be possible. Yep. So my goal is to sort of like find a method that works for them in particular and implement a way that they can follow it.
Yeah. And obviously, since you've been here, you've obviously been really good at networking. You're good, train a couple of celebrities, and you seem like you're in the know in Dubai. What sort of got you to that level? Is it just you speaking to people? Or?
I think that in terms of, I guess, training celebrities, that sort of fell in my lap really. So one of my clients just reached out. He reached out to me via Instagram. Maybe would have been about 2 years ago now. And at the time, I actually didn't have the time he wanted to start. And I said, listen, man, I can't train you because I'm not available. And he said, look, I'll wait until you're free. And look, at the time, I had no idea who he was. And he waited for about a month, and then I finally got him on board. And he's been one of my best clients since then. And he's just referred me, not referred me, but from him, has just generated a mountain of clients for me, which has been, really lucky. Yeah. Like I said, there's nothing I really did to sort of reach out. And then from him, I've networked through his contacts. And that's, again, sort of helped me out. But again, in the beginning, it just sort of happened organically. It wasn't really anything that I really planned to go out and try and meet people and actively pursue clients who were regarded as celebrities in the country. They all sort of fell in my lap, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like you just were good, did a really good job,
yeah,
delivered a good service, and then you started getting referrals, and then you get a lucky break with someone who's influential, and then
exactly. I mean, I think luck plays. Not when I say luck plays a big part. You got to have the skill set to get there in the first place. But if the skills are there and you keep doing the right things, eventually things are going to sort of turn and go your way. And I think that at the time, before he started, I was training really hard myself and sort of trying to do my best. If I wasn't training enough people, I'm like, you know what, if I'm not working that many hours, I'm going to put as many hours as I can into improving my skills as a trainer and improving my own sort of, I guess, physique and health. And I'm a big believer, if you get yourself in good shape, people sort of look up to you and find that quite inspiring. So they're not always going to want to look exactly like you, but they know you got there. How did you get there?
Yeah.
And what are the things you did to get there?
That was my actual next point, is you're someone who I firmly believe and I respect a lot, is you walk the talk. You're someone who actually does the methods that you're giving out. You're not someone who sits behind the computer or the desk and says, you know, this is what you need to eat. You need to eat this. But you're someone who's, you know, tried and tested the methods. You've done carb cycling. You've done, you know, everything.
Yeah.
And so I think you, as the guinea pig, the clients can relate to you a lot more, and they can sort of be a little bit more inspired, as you said before.
I guess, I mean, I'm a big believer in you're a product of the things you've tried before. And like you said, I've tried almost every diet under the sun, and I know how I felt. I mean, you can't say that you can use that cookie cutter approach and it's going to work for everyone, but I know what works for me. I know what sort of feelings I went through when I experienced certain diets, whether it was low carb or high protein or lower protein, and what sort of feelings someone might go through if they're like, oh, I feel really lethargic, or I feel like my training's gone down. I know what to implement to make those things go up.
Yeah.
So that's something that I guess I sort of learned from Charles Poliquin back in the day, that you are always your best business card. So if you look like you're in shape, chances are you have an idea of what you're talking about is somewhat factual and somewhat true.
Yeah. And what would you say in terms of the key, you know, 3 things that have kept you in shape, but also kept you sort of motivated to stay in shape? Because, you know, there's trainers out there that are, you know, big and strong guys, but they're not always in condition. But you're someone who sort of 12 months of the year is in condition.
Cool, good question. I guess, I mean, I'm a big believer that carb cycling and controlling your carbohydrates plays a huge impact on your body fat. Now, I've been on holiday and eaten mountains of bread and put on body fat quite quickly, and then cutting it out and controlling it again has been, for me, the fastest way to get rid of body fat. So I think definitely carb cycling is a diet that I've implemented with many people with great success that I use it myself still to this day. I'm even sort of tinkering with it a bit now and pushing the carbs up a little bit higher and a little bit more frequently. But again, I do believe that carb cycling is a really, really beneficial for almost anyone, regardless of their body fat.
Yeah. And how would you determine, like, if you got a client or someone coming into the gym and they said to you, Jeremy, look, 12 weeks, I want to drop X number of body fats, what approach, and then how would you determine if the carb cycling is working for them?
I like to take skin fold measurements. I generally would do it on a bi-weekly basis, so 2 to 3 weeks at worst. I sort of feel 1 week's a little bit too short, but initially there'll be a phase of like low carb to sort of increase that insulin sensitivity, so when they do eat carbohydrates again, that their body utilises them better than they were before they started training. Obviously the weight training will help as well, but I think the two together are really effective in improving insulin sensitivity. So I'll generally do like a 7-day or a 6-day really low carb boot camp, as we call it, where someone will literally eat protein, vegetables and fats for 6 days, and on the 7th day they'll have a day where they eat carbohydrates. And it's not a day of eating hamburgers and ice cream, it's a day of eating like rice and potatoes and I guess what we call whole food carbohydrates, so raised carbs.
More of a refeed than a cheat meal.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, I'll determine the days that they're training with me, and those days will push the higher carbs in, and then it sort of gives me the ability to push them a little bit harder in the gym because I know they'll have the energy to either complete the session or recover from the session.
Yeah. Coming back to yourself and just personal habits, and obviously you being in good shape all the time, just digging deeper, and what does your sort of daily routine look like, just so we can distill, because there's people out there that might not be able to afford your services or personal trainers. What do you do? What's your routine?
Well, I mean, it's sort of, I guess, when it comes to the sort of supplements and training programs and nutrition, I only ever do the things that I believe in. I do every morning, the first thing I do without fail is I take a probiotic. The probiotic is called Simprove. I've been using for about 8 weeks now, and normally with a probiotic I've felt gassy afterwards, or I've had gas, or I haven't really felt that much, and I've had a mentor tell me just keep taking more because you're just deficient. You need more good gut flora, so keep taking more. And then as soon as I switched to this Simprove, I really had no more gas or digestive issues whatsoever. So I really think that's helped out considerably. And so I do take that every morning. I also use bone broth almost about 15 minutes later. I'm quite regimented.
What quantities are we talking about? So with the Simprove, what are you just doing a one serve?
The Simprove it comes in a little shot glass. So it's about 70 mLs in the morning. And then you're meant to leave about 10 or 15 minute gap before you put anything else in your stomach.
To repopulate the gut flora.
Exactly. And then I'll have the bone broth as well, which is also, again, for gut health, as you know, but also has the collagen in it and the essential amino acids, which I'm a big believer that essential amino acids play a critical role in muscle development and also maintaining low body fat.
What serving size of the bone broth are you having?
The bone broth I'll have about, I guess, a teacup, so I guess 250 mils, thereabouts. I mean, it comes in a 500 ml pack, and I would have half a day. Yeah.
And going on, so you have that in the morning, go to work?
Yeah, so I'm up in the morning at about 4:30 most days, so it's pretty early. I'm in the gym at 5:30. So my first session is 5:30, and I'll generally I'll do 4 to 5 hours back to back, and I probably won't eat my first meal until around 9:30 a.m. So I guess, by accident, I'm doing an intermittent fasting type diet. Yeah. It wasn't really planned. I just didn't really have the time to eat a meal, and then I always had a gap between, just because this guy was always late, between 9:30 and 9:45. So it just sort of worked out that way, and I wouldn't say that I'm a big believer in intermittent fasting. The more I read about fasting, the more I think it's beneficial. But it's sort of something that happened by chance. Didn't really plan to not eat between certain hours, and I certainly don't have a stopwatch on.
Happened.
Yeah, I don't say, well, I can't eat for another 2 hours, but I do generally have my last meal at around 7:30, 8 o'clock. So there's a good 14 hours of fasting there. And then I'm at the gym till about lunchtime. I'll come home. I generally nap for about an hour during the day.
When's your training? What time do you usually train?
I'll either work out right before I go home. So I'll work out and then have a nap straight away. Or after I have a nap, I'll go back to the gym and work out before my evening sessions. Personally, I prefer to work out mid-morning. So I'll eat that breakfast meal and then I'll work out and then I'll come home.
Yeah. Pre and intra nutrition and post?
Yeah, so again, it all goes down to depending on what sort of muscle group I'm training. I'll give you an example. For instance, on a day where I might train chest or back, I'll generally have more carbohydrates. So on that day, I might get in 300, 350 grams of carbs that day. And that would generally be about 40 to 50 grams in a meal before I work out. And then there'll be supplements that contain about 100 grams of carbs total.
Which ones are used?
Glycofuse? Yeah, Glycofuse. And then after a workout, I'll have a piece of fruit generally a piece of fruit, which is generally about 25 more grams. And then when I get home, I'll have another carb meal for the next 2 after that. So I do believe that about roughly 60 to 70% of my carbs should be taken pre, during, and post-workout, and the rest is scattered throughout the day. So that's my sort of theory on.
And can you explain just the metabolic process or the rationale behind that for people who perhaps don't understand the insulin response and how it affects hypertrophy?
So I guess, this sort of nutrient timing, as it's referred to, was sort of introduced to me by Andy Bell, who's another friend of mine here, and someone I do sort of look up to as well, because he's, again, very passionate about bodybuilding and he's ultimate professional as well. Very similar, I guess, to Brendan Field when I first met him. And Andy, I sat down with Andy and we've had many discussions on nutrition and supplements and training, and he's often said to me that this is the way he's done it, and it's not necessarily the right way, but it worked for him, and it seemed to work for me as well. And that was having all the carbs pre, during, and post workout, just so you sort of create an environment where as much of that glucose you have gets into the muscle while you're training, as opposed to having it at the end of the day or the start of the day when your body doesn't really need too much glucose. So generally, like I said, I'll have 60 to 70% of my carbs in the meal pre, during, and then post, and the rest will be really low carbs.
And I've heard you talk about it before. I've seen some Instagram posts where you speak about napping and the benefits of napping. What's the rationale behind that?
I mean, I guess sleep is the mother of all recovery aids, isn't it? So often if I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, the chances that I'm going to get a full 7-8 hours sleep, very slim. At best, I'd get 7 hours. Most of the time it's like 6.5. So I'd like to get that extra hour during the day. And for me, after the workout, I always feel fantastic after I sleep after a workout. So again, to sort of try and improve that, enhance that recovery as much as possible. I mean, the faster you recover, then the more you can train, and I really enjoy training. So the faster I can recover, the faster I can get back out there and do it again.
That's one thing I spend a lot of time with my clients explaining to them. It's not necessarily how much you do in the gym, it's how well you can recover. That your limiting factors are always your recovery, it's not necessarily your... and so I think you're a testament to that. You're someone who focuses on recovery, regeneration, and doing all the right things. Just while it's on the fresh of my mind, I saw a post where you've been doing IV therapy. Can you just tell us what you do and who you're involved with?
So I go to a clinic called the Elixir Clinic in Chambery on Beach Road. I read about IV therapy, and I had lecturers talking about IV therapy many times, in particular Charles Poliquin, in regarding to high dose vitamin C and glutathione post-workout. Now I'm not specific and I say, look, I want this and this, but I trust the doctors I have there, and I sort of tell them what the reason why I'm doing IV. Is it for recovery? Is it for, I feel like run down, or I feel tired or lethargic? They've got sort of different cocktails, as they call them, for different goals. So most of the time I go down there, I do what they call a fitness drip, which has L-carnitine, B vitamins. It doesn't have any vitamin C or any magnesium, because it's designed to have something that's almost a pre-workout drip. So afterwards you feel really energized, and I've been there a few times, and afterwards I always walk out and they just
feel amazing,
ready to run through walls.
Yeah.
But I have had one with much more vitamin C and magnesium, and afterwards I've never felt relaxation like that ever. I literally had not a drop of cortisol in my body. I was just complete. I mean, I couldn't work out, but I felt great afterwards.
Yeah. And in assessing that, so example, obviously they're giving you vitamin C, all these things. Yeah. Are there biomarkers they're looking at with you?
They do offer, blood testing there, so they can the first consult, they always say sit with a doctor and they'll assess what you're looking for and what you need. But the major reason why I think IV therapy is effective is it obviously bypasses your gut. And as you know, and I'm a big believer that gut health is a big limiting factor when it comes to most people's ability to get the results they want in terms of getting lean or building muscle or losing weight. And having that ability to bypass the gut altogether and go straight into the bloodstream, I think you're going to absorb 95% of those vitamins. Yeah. So I think almost anyone can benefit from doing IV therapy.
It's got big implications for the people that are coming in the beginning and they're not in best shape. They've been eating crap food for the last 15, 20 years and their gut health is terrible. Mm-hmm. I guess you can short circuit that and go straight in and start getting nutrients in there and then work on gut health.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my job as a trainer is most supplement protocols I'll start with a new client will be gut health based, even if I don't think they have bad gut health. But just you can't have like the best. It can always be a little bit better. So I'll always do a gut health protocol to start with clients, and then from there we'll look at other sort of stuff. But if you're doing a gut health protocol as well as maybe IV once a month or once a fortnight, I just feel that your training is just going to go through the roof. You'll feel so much better. And you'll train so much better, so your likelihood of getting results is just going to be that much higher. And I guess we're in the business of getting results. So if someone's body's changing on a weekly or monthly basis, they tell their friends, and you get more clients that way. So I think that IV therapy definitely has its place in the future in terms of supplementation.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your money where your mouth is. You're trying it before you recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never do something without, I never say to someone, I'll take this without me giving it a go first. So the people at the Elixir Clinic were kind enough to let me come in and try one as a sample for free. And it was, I mean, I had no expectations, and I said to them, listen, if I don't feel great afterwards, I'm happy to pay for it, and I want no part of it. But honestly, I can honestly say that I felt the next 4 or 5 days afterwards, I'd trained the house down, I had a boundless energy, and I was sort of wondering, I was in the gym, I can remember at a certain point doing work, and I'd done the volume I normally would. Normally would be like, I'm done, I had plenty more left, so I pushed out, almost 25, 30% more. So definitely worthwhile trying. If you haven't done it, I would recommend it, definitely.
Just touching on that as well. So you're just putting a coach's hat back on with your clients. You spoke about obviously focusing on gut health first. What do you initially look at for someone, and you get someone coming in and say they've got the money and they want to train 4 or 5 times a week? What are you looking at first? What are you trying to catch, and what assessments do you do, and what tests do you need to get the people to do?
So with everyone that I first meet, I do a body fat test. So I use the bioprint, the 14 site measure, which is just, I guess, biosignature add +2. And I have found quite a common denominator with most people that I measure. If you're sort of storing fat on the umbilicus, so the belly, on the hip there, and the lower back, it generally has gut health relations. So I feel if you've got that sort of what they call the spare tire around the midsection, you have a little bit of inflammation in the body. And I think that the gut health protocol that I use, which is the probiotic, the bone broth, and glutamine. That's very simple, just those three. So the glutamine I use throughout the day, so not just at one point. So I'll do, again, as I discussed before, the probiotics and the bone broth first thing, and glutamine sort of sprinkled throughout the day, anywhere between 20 and 40 grams a day.
Yeah. And with that client, so you've done the gut health assessment, you've worked out, okay, this is where we need to attack from a movement standpoint or from a training standpoint. Obviously, we've touched on nutrition and the recovery. What sort of things do you focus on when you first see them?
I mean, at points I've done sort of movement screening that I learnt from doing the functional movement screening before, and also the Poliquin level 1 and 2 and 3, the screening they use. But I think now that I just found common trends with most people, and strengthening up muscles that they want to work on the most. So for girls, I do a lot of focused work on glutes and hamstrings, and back and shoulders. So for girls, they're the muscles I really, almost that posterior chain that they'll hammer really hard. And for guys, a lot of back work as well. I mean, obviously we'll do leg work, but they're less inclined to sort of favour doing leg work. But I don't do movement screening like I used to. No. I basically just sort of listen to the client and say, well, what areas? Everyone's got an area they want to develop a little bit more than the others. Yeah. I've never said someone saying, I just want to lose weight. They always say, I want a little bit extra in this area. So I place a lot of focus on that if I believe it needs work as well. And the rest is generally sort of like full body type sessions to begin with, so GBC. But I really structure it in a way where I'm doing a lot of tempo stuff. So both slow, eccentric, concentric, pause, drop sets, supersets, overload techniques all the time to make sure I'm really hammering that muscle as much as possible. So when they do eat those carbs, they sort of go where I want them to. I think you can do a workout and sort of like slam, 20 sets and do 20 average sets. I reckon I could do 10 good sets and get a much, much more favourable hormonal response from 10 than I could with 20.
And touching on that, so the methods you spoke about before, for those people who don't know, GBC, it's like essentially how you train like an athlete or...
Yeah. I guess, the way I pair it now is I won't do like GBC as in like we'll do everything in one day. I'll sort of do a day where I'll do, let's say specifically for women first, I'll do like glutes and hammies together, or mainly just glutes. And then I might pair that with back or shoulders. And the next day it might be more hamstring based with the reverse, so either back and shoulders again. And then the other day will be a more full body day where I'll do a bit of everything. And then like a metabolic conditioning day where I'll do a lot of sled work, a lot of rope slams, maybe a salt bike, rower, that sort of stuff. So almost like a HIIT training workout.
And if someone comes into you and says, body comp is the ultimate goal, what's in your toolbox? What methods do you use? Are you more, if money's not an object and time's not an object, and you say, I want to get in phenomenal shape, and I've got, give me 6 months, what would you do?
I would probably do, I would definitely do 4 days. I'd train them 5 days a week with 2 rest days. And I'd say we'd do 4 days of GBC style workouts or weight training workouts and 1 sole HIIT workout. And that being said, I might do a little bit of HIIT work at the end of some of the workouts. But mainly it would be strength training for 4 days and HIIT training for the last day.
And if you were going on the other end of the spectrum and some guy said to you, I want to increase muscle mass, I want to put on 5 kilos of muscle.
Yeah.
Would your training splits be different? Would your methods be sort of similar?
Yeah.
Or?
Again, it all depends on the client. Like you can't use that one cookie cutter. If you've got a guy who hasn't really worked out, but wants to get massive.
General.
But in general,
method.
I would say that I would split the workout much differently. So I'd probably do a 2 leg days, and then I'd do 2 upper body days. And I still believe having a HIIT workout, whether your goal is to increase muscle or burn fat, challenging the muscles on a different level like that and by a different stimulus is really important to build muscle, increase recruitment, but also to get the body fat lower. No one's going to have too low body fat, are they?
No. And in terms of training frequency would stay the same even if it was a bodybuilding client, or would you up that depending obviously on how they recover?
Yeah, again, it all goes sort of on recovery in the person, but again, I always go back to the way I do it myself, and that's 5 days a week, which I find has been the most optimal. And I sort of find...
Does that include your conditioning or no?
Including. Yeah. So I generally take 2 full rest days a week. Those are the hardest days a week for me. The rest days are the hardest because a lot of the time I feel like I want to work out, but I know that at some point in the future there'll be a workout where I'm like, I really wish I didn't do that. So if I take the rest day, I never have that. So I try and... clients are always going to appreciate a rest day regardless. And they're going to take a Friday and a Saturday off or a Friday and a midweek off anyway. So I think having 2 rest days allows that body to sort of recover and regenerate, which is, very underrated in terms of building muscle, burning fat. And then you've got the 5 days where you can really crush them.
Is there something, obviously you do the IV therapy, but is there something in terms of regeneration that you recommend? Is it massage or other alternative things that we haven't spoken about? I
do get massage, deep tissue massage once a week. Guy called Jason. I'll send you his details.
Yeah.
He's a good masseuse. He's the best one I've experienced here. He knows his stuff, so he probably comes around once a week and just gives me a real... he gives me a beat down where he hammers my legs and my back. So at the time I hate him for it, but I always feel good afterwards, and I'll generally do that on a rest day. I was doing yoga at one point, and I wish I had...
You don't strike me as the yoga
type
of guy.
I really wish I had the drive to keep going, but I sort of went for a bit, and then I got a little bit lazy and skipped a bit. But now that I've got a little bit more free time with this new guy starting, I probably should get back to it, because I did feel good
when you did.
On a recovery day doing... I'm making more of an effort to stretch in general, but I guess yoga, you're forced to do it for a full hour, which now I might be doing 15 minutes at best.
Yeah.
So, but I do rate yoga. I just wish I had the motivation to do more of it.
What do you think trainers and fitness enthusiasts spend too much time worrying about? It doesn't actually matter.
Ab work. Nothing kills me more than people come in and I'm going to do cardio on abs. I do believe that, yes, abs require a little bit of work, but I feel they're a thin muscle. They're not really going to... I've never met anyone who grew their ab muscles by doing crunches, So I really feel like it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of burning calories. So I rarely do ab work.
And you've always got abs. So.
Well, do you know what? I do it so people just shut up. So I can feel my abs working, so they assume they're going to get abs. It's more of a mental thing.
A lot of times when you're coaching, it's, you need to do what's good for them.
Yeah.
But a lot of times if you give them something that's going to make them happier, they'll buy into the rest of your training program.
Exactly, and that's the reason why I do it. So I'll generally do at the end of a workout, if I'm doing a little bit of HIIT work at the end, I'll pair that with some ab work, and I don't believe it really does anything in particular. I mean, unless they've got really weak core muscles, it's not a bad thing to do. But I mean, I feel it has very little value in terms of flattening the stomach, if that's the goal.
Touching on that, I want to get the real Jeremy out and him to scorn the people, but with styles of exercise that would annoy you and irritate you, or things that people do in the gym, like you said, and spoke about ab training, but is there anything that you just say, like, these people are just no idea?
I mean, I never like to say anyone has no idea, because there's always a reason behind why they're doing it, and as long as they can explain it in what I would consider rational terms, why they do it. I mean, I appreciate calisthenics, I appreciate balance work, I can appreciate yoga, and I do believe it all has a place in the gym somewhere. So I don't really have any pet peeves in terms of like seeing people that annoy me. I mean, I guess someone who's trying to get lean and is like reefing massive weights off the floor and expecting to lose body fat is something that sort of not gets under my skin, but I just feel they're a little bit ill-advised. I mean, I appreciate the strength is a very valuable trait, but I mean, I think it sort of holds very little significance if your goal is to get lean, because you're just not gonna, in my opinion, not gonna elicit enough lactate to burn body fat, and doing one rep is, for me, is just not gonna do it.
Yeah, clearly. And with your coming back to that, on the nutritional side of things, what mistakes do you commonly see trainers and people think that, and it's a misconception?
I mean, I've made hundreds and hundreds of diet mistakes in my time as a personal trainer and training in general. I think the biggest ones in particular would be ignoring the benefits of vegetables. Now, I'm no proponent of the vegan diet or anything like that, but I do believe that vegetables just hold so much nutrients, and compared to other products we eat, though, I just feel they're essential, and we don't eat enough of them. I don't think most people, when I sit down and talk to them, they eat a salad, but salad holds, it's so light and so small, it doesn't really contain that much. But
I don't think anyone eats too much salad. No,
exactly. But vegetables are something that I believe are, and I feel the difference when I stop eating as much. The other ones are eating too much protein. I mean, I've done mountains of, like, in the realm of 1.5 kilos of meat a day. Yeah. And I just, eating that much, I don't think it's healthy.
Well, it's not good for your gut, it's not good for your liver.
No, I mean, and I never got any really good results eating that much ever. So I feel that reducing my protein down to almost 2 grams per kilo of body weight has been the most beneficial thing for my digestive health and overall health. And the last one would be probably not having an idea of how many calories you're eating in general. I mean, I rarely count calories for clients, but I like to give them an idea of where they need to be. Just because I think if you're overeating, you're not really going to lose that much weight, because the old phrase, you're taking in more than you're burning, and vice versa goes the other way. If you want to gain muscle and you're eating 1,200 calories a day, it's just not going to happen.
Touching on, we just spoke about just then, mistakes. I'm not going to bring up any stories about you, but there is one that comes to mind in terms of eating and nutritional strategies.
I'm guessing it will be the milk one.
Yes. You maybe explain a mistake that you might have made around milk, or...
Well, it was a diet that I sort of read online, probably on T Nation or bodybuilding.com. At the time, I was just on a quest to get massive. So I was looking at any means necessary nutritionally to get as big as possible. So one was called the GOMAD diet, and basically the GOMAD means a gallon of milk a day. So I drank 4 litres of full cream milk every day for a month, and I must have gained 6 kilos in that time.
So it worked?
It worked. I mean, I dare say, I was training at the time quite well as well, so I dare say, at best, a kilo would have been muscle. But a kilo of muscle in a month, in the end, is probably worth it. But like, I literally could climb a set of stairs and be puffed out, and my stomach was continually like sitting out here. Like, I always had a milk mustache. It was a painful month. I would never do it again. I would never recommend anyone else do it, but it was a learning experience.
And on the training side of things, like I'll put my hand up and be the first to say that I've made hundreds of mistakes in terms of giving clients exercise they probably didn't need, or even hurting them at some points. Is there things that you look back at now when you were 21, 22 and think, what was I thinking? I mean, obviously at that time, that's what you knew. So you were trying to do the best, but...
It's all relative, isn't it? I mean, like I saw a lot of people in the gym doing exercises when I first moved to QV. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, this is just bizarre. I mean, Mark Luxon had some real unique ones that I never actually did myself. And he always had a very rational explanation for using all of them. I guess for me, things that I didn't really take into consideration in my early days as a personal trainer was tempo. You would just sort of move the weight from point A to point B for X amount of reps with as much weight as you could. And I guess, in particular, moving here, I sort of learnt to move a weight from point A to point B, contracting the muscle the whole time. But not only that, but also knowing what range of motion works certain muscles, and where if you go past a certain point, the muscle you're trying to work might not actually be contracting as hard as you want it to. Biceps in particular comes to mind. If you're doing bicep curls and you're lifting your arm up here, you're sort of taking a lot of tension off that bicep muscle when you really only need to go about 20 degrees lower and that muscle stays under complete tension the whole time. And the same thing goes on the way down. Like if you go all the way straight, you sort of lose a lot of that tension. So I guess with all muscles, I sort of found a way to increase tension on that particular muscle. I mean, it holds no bearing on sport performance at all. And I'm a testament to that because I've seen what happens. But in terms of growing the muscle and losing body fat, I do think it works. Yeah.
Okay, that's good advice. Now, mentors. So we've spoken about early in your career. You've obviously acquired a lot of knowledge. Maybe talk about the steps that you took in terms of education, and maybe official mentors or unofficial mentors that have taken you to that next level and to that elite level of training that you're at now.
Yep.
Just, mentors.
Well, look, I'll probably say the first mentor I had would be Brendan Field, without a doubt. He sort of took me under his wing and showed me the way he did it. And I guess everyone has a way that they did it. And after sort of training with him for a while, and I sort of found him a little bit one-dimensional because I built muscle, but I didn't really get lean enough. And his sort of one-dimensional approach sort of not turned me off bodybuilding, but sort of pointed me in a different direction to more the science behind why to lift weights and why to eat a certain way. And that's when sort of I stumbled across Charles Poliquin and started reading a lot of his books and did a few of his courses, with a lot of his courses. And again, it came to a point where...
Because there was a big shift just from looking at you before you went and did PICP, and then after. You came back, you were very structured, you knew exactly what you're doing in terms of tempos and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I guess that's the major benefit, and I always recommend to any new trainer entering the fitness industry to do a course like the PICP 1 and 2. It really gives you a solid foundation on how to program someone's workouts from day one to 3 months down the track, or even longer.
Well.
And it sets you a structure. It shows you how you can assess someone and what to do when you show weaknesses up. But doing PICP 1 and 2 was really a game changer for me, absolutely. And then biasing as well, as you know, massive game changers. And Charles Poliquin then was the guy that I looked up to as this guy is just a myth in terms of what he knows. He's just a very smart guy. And honoured to be around, and I'm very privileged to sort of share a somewhat relationship with him now where we can talk on a regular basis or a sub-regular basis about things that are happening in the world of fitness.
And he's just on the ball in terms of nutrition side of things, and that, from my experience doing some of his courses, was just, he sort of opened my eyes in terms of nutrition and biofeedback and blood markers, all these sorts of things that I wasn't thinking about back in the day, and I was just kind of leaving it to chance. Yeah. Whereas with him and a lot of other sort of more advanced trainers, is they quantify a lot of the assessments, and you don't leave anything to chance.
No, well, I mean, I guess when it comes to nutrition, I mean, at the time before I did buy a signature or anything like that, I wasn't really handing out nutrition plans because I would just tell them to eat like tuna and pita bread or something like that, So I didn't really have any. I was the filthy special. I didn't really have any advice I could tell people like what you should eat, like eat protein, eat right. I mean, I had no idea how many grams of what they needed or anything like that. So Charles, he gives you a structure on how to work. So if someone weighs this amount, this is how many grams of protein roughly they need. And if their body fat is distributed in a certain way, this is why they should have carbs or shouldn't have carbs. If they're weak in this muscle, these are the sort of exercises they need to do to get stronger. So like you said, it makes everything quantifiable, and then you can measure everything and you can assess everything, and you can really see improvements on a weekly basis in someone, which obviously that's why someone's hiring you. So for me, Charles Poliquin was definitely a huge influence in my career, probably for a good maybe 5 years. And then from there, I mean, I love Charles. I do think at times he can be a little bit not one-dimensional, but he operates in absolutes in terms of this is the way and this is exactly how much you need. Whereas I sort of feel, again, not everyone's the same, and people require different methods and techniques in terms of getting where they want to be. And I think, I mean, I wouldn't say anyone in particular now, but just reading guys that have been in the trenches for a long period of time. And I guess, I mean, I don't like using the word bodybuilder because I don't consider myself one, but I do feel these guys have a passion for low body fat. Let's call it low body fat, and they do know how to get there. So, I mean, that's what most people's goal is, to get lean.
Yeah, well, you've got to learn from the best. If someone's lean, they know how to get there, and they've at least lived it.
And Andy Bell, another guy, a mentor of mine, at some point, he's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to nutrition and nutrient timing and supplementation and training programs. He really showed me just certain techniques and overload techniques that I hadn't experienced before, and they were just eye-opening. They really were.
And just going full circle on that, so that they're your mentors at the moment. You've told me before, but just for the people who don't know, that you obviously mentor and work with trainers. Can you just maybe explain what you do with those guys?
Sure. So I basically have a personal training company in Dubai now. It's called Caliber. We have 2 trainers that work for me. So basically, my role now is shifted from, I guess, freelance personal trainer to somewhat personal trainer and manager, owner operator, I guess. So my role is to try and improve these trainers' skills. So I basically follow a structure that I learned when I was entering the fitness industry. I try and make it, as you say, quantifiable, and I give them a structure on how they should train people for certain results, certain goals. I've even sort of fast-tracked it a little bit and added in a lot of the overload techniques and the bodybuilding stuff I learned along the way. So I've combined a lot of stuff I learned from Brendan Field, from Charles Pollock, and from Andy Bell all together to make sort of, I'm not going to call it my own method, but a way in how I structure my programs now from day one, and how I tell my trainers to do the same thing up until whenever. But I do believe the trainers should have some flexibility as well. So I appreciate that they both have their own individual skill set and style. I'm not expecting to be clones of me. No. I think it's very important for the dynamics of our company to have a bit of versatility and a bit of variety. And that's why I've got Sam Mahana to sort of provide that individually.
And you do education with them once a week, or do you just is it more on a one-on-one basis with them?
So we try to match up our schedules as much as possible, and I like to sit down with them at least minimum once a week and have a good hour discussion about A, business, or B, training, nutrition. But at this stage, I generally write all the nutrition plans. So I meet all the clients and I'll measure their body fat and write the nutrition plan, and then the trainers are just responsible for trying to make them stick to it.
And then I guess they learn from you.
Yeah. I mean, I always show them why I'm doing certain things. This is why I've done this. This is why I've done that. This is why we should have more carbs here and less carbs here. And that ideally the goal would be when the company grows, the two that I have now will become somewhat, I guess, mentors for other trainers, and then they'll show them what I taught them.
Okay, so we've spoken about mentors.
Yep.
Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but in terms of resources for people who don't have access to people like Charles Poliquin and Andy Bell, what is there like go-to books or specific articles that people could find out more? And you could even recommend your own blog.
Well, I was just about to toot my own horn a little bit there. I mean, I like to think that the blog that I write is almost readable by anyone. I definitely don't dive too much into the science behind things. I basically say things that have worked for me in the past. So it's my full name, jeremygwyer.com. /blog.
I'll put a link so everyone can get access to it. And also Instagram Jeremy's quite big on Instagram as well. So
I wouldn't say big, but yeah, it's a part of the part and parcel with the business these days. You know what? To be honest, I'm not a huge. I do like the benefits that Instagram has brought me, but I hate the fact that it's attached to me all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a big fan of documenting my life via a selfie camera, even though business mentors tell me now that I need to be doing it. I know I hate doing it, but when I do it, I just feel like an idiot. It's like walking around with a camera in my face. It's my own camera. I don't know. It's just
there's two ways though. I think you do it from an informative point of view, and I like to think I do it as well. It's less about, hey, this is me on my couch,
with my cat and my iPad or whatever. But yeah. I mean, again, my business mentor says that you should get more. People want to know who you are, so you have to make it more about yourself and what you do on a daily basis. But I guess I'm a little bit private in that way. I sort of like to be left to my own devices sometimes. And I do enjoy. I love the fact if my phone is broken and it needs to be fixed, that day is just a really great day because I don't have access to it and I can't look at it. And I think if it's near you, you're forced to look at it. So. I mean, social media has revolutionised the way we live these days, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I think that we spend too much time on it.
You need to unplug.
You really need to unplug, and I do enjoy travel because you get 7 to 14 hours of uninterrupted time to just watch.
Now you can actually tap into the Wi-Fi.
I know. I would never do it. Never.
Just going back. I just mentioned you had a business mentor. Can you elaborate on that?
So, I mean, it's not an official business mentor, but someone
you look up to.
She's actually a client of mine. Her name's Huda Katad. She owns the Huda Beauty enterprise now. It is, and she's just someone that I really look up to because she built a brand from nothing. She started like me. She was a beauty blogger writing about products that she was trying. I mean, I guess I'm sort of similar that I write about products that I try and nutrition plans that I try and training methods. So in essence, we're sort of in the same place when she began and I began. And now like she just worked her ass off and she was passionate about what she did. She was big on social media. And I guess
massive on social media.
And she's the one who sort of pushes me to do more on social media. So people they're not just buying your product, they're buying you as well. It's because it's a part of you, which I'm struggling to sort of digest, but I'm getting there slowly. It's just something you sort of got to really knuckle down and say, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep doing it. And obviously it worked really well for her. And I have no doubt it would work for me if I did it as well. I just need to really knuckle down and do it. But she gives me great advice in terms of like social media and marketing and what sort of products I should potentially sell in the future. She's been a great help over the past sort of 2 years.
Now, it'd be remiss of me if I didn't bring it up, but Mr. October over here, Men's Health, front cover, if you haven't seen it, I'll flash up a picture of him on the front cover. He's in phenomenal shape in that photo, but as he is now, just tell us about that experience and how you got to be on the front cover.
I mean, you know what, it's funny, I do believe in somewhat, I'm not going to say like thinking about these things and they happen, but I did say at the start of this year, I was going to write for a magazine at some point. I don't know who or where or which magazine or whether it be online or what, but I did say to myself, my goal this year is to write a piece or a regular piece for a publication, Men's Health being the ultimate goal. And I guess they reached out to me actually initially, again on social media, just shows you the power of Instagram, from a post that I put up about maintaining low levels of body fat for a long period of time. And I guess the editor at the time had read a lot of my blogs and he reached out to me and he asked me if I wanted to sit down and collaborate at some point. And obviously it was, as soon as I got that email, I was just
all over
ecstatic. And I met with him and...
What sort of time period were you talking like between
when I met him in the cover?
Yeah,
almost 5 months.
Okay, so it was a long period.
Yeah, he reached out to me in May, but as you know, Ramadan, things started to slow down. People were going on holiday. I went away, he went away. I actually came back and we had emails to and from. We were both always out of the country. And then just by chance, I hadn't heard from him in a while, so I thought I'd shoot him an email and got one back saying he actually left Men's Health. And at the time I thought, you know what, I think I'm dead in the water and that's just going to be the end of it. But in the automated message I got, there was 2 extra emails there. So I messaged both these guys and I said, hey, listen, I was supposed to meet and talk about a collaboration at some point. Are you guys still available to do that? And we did, and I was just fortunate at the time. The guy who took over had no idea about health and fitness. Like he was quite overweight.
It's a bit ironic.
He was sort of like the interim editor, and he was put in charge of Men's Health. And he said to me, mate, I could use all the help you can give us. So we sort of decided we put a column together where I would answer a few questions.
Ask Jeremy.
Just ask Jeremy about things relating to, in particular, the golf. So I guess the Gwyer lifestyle, staying healthy, losing body fat, maintaining a balance between lifestyle and health. And like I said, it really did happen quite quickly from there. I was sent a list of questions and I answered them, and then they got me in for a photo shoot, only for my section. It wasn't for the cover. And we did the shoot. I didn't really prepare for the shoot. I was just that's just the way it is. I mean, I guess he gave me like 5 days notice.
Oh,
so I did
5 days is plenty.
Yeah, 5 days. Yeah, and then I went in. I took the shoot, and then the magazine released on a Friday, and they emailed me on the Wednesday saying that they liked my shoot so much that they were going to put me on the cover. So I knew about 4 days before, and I never like to count my chickens before they've hatched. So I didn't really tell anyone. I told my fiance and a few others that potentially it was going to happen. But until you actually hold it in your hand, it's almost unbelievable. And then that Friday, I just had a ton of messages and photos from people that had gone to Spinneys or Waitrose or whatever and seen my magazine and sent me a picture of it. So it was an honour and really a dream come true. I did say to a client after I met this guy the first time, I said, I'm going to be on the cover in November, and I got it in October, so it was pretty fortunate. I can remember having that conversation with the client saying I met with Men's Health and I'm going to be on the cover in November this year.
Yeah, well, that's a good story of perseverance as well, because, I mean, a lot of people, if, that had happened and the person or the editor left and they would have just saw that, it's not for me, it's not going to happen, but obviously you sunk your heels in and said, this is what I want, and you chased it.
I guess, you can read a ton of motivational books and they all, in essence, have the same message, don't they? Like, if you want something, you really have to go out and get it. And Men's Health and writing for Men's Health was something that I felt was a step in the right direction in terms of career progression. Not so much the cover, because it's a one-off thing, but in particular, the column, which I'm really, really proud of, is something that I really wanted to do on a long-term basis and really be known as someone who can contribute to the I guess now Men's Health in general in the UAE. So I'm really privileged and really honoured to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So now we're sort of at the end of the interview. I've got a couple of rapid-fire questions. They don't necessarily have to be rapid-fire answers, but you just let me know how you go. So first one, what's your all-time favourite training book? And or self-help book, if that's...
I'll give you one of each. I do love Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. I think that's just... anything you need to know about nutrition and training is in there. You can always get something out of it. Any of Charles' books is also good, but they're probably a bit more scientific. In terms of self-help and in general books, I really like The Alchemist. Is a big winner for me.
Paulo Coelho.
Yeah, and recently I read The 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins,
I've read that as well.
which I was a big fan of as well. I really like. I think the way she talks and her philosophies are really, really simple, but really effective.
Effective, yeah. Do you have any quotes that you live your life by? Just a simple one. Doesn't have to be big or anything you can think of off the top of your head. Can be cheesy, as they usually are.
I wouldn't say a quote, but I do believe. I've always said to myself, my mum told me when I was very young, if there's something you really want to do, no one can stop you from going and getting it. And it's just so cliche, but if you want something, the first step is action. You just have to make massive action to make a big change.
Yeah, That's awesome. What do you do for fun on the weekends unrelated to training?
I actually really love going like dune buggy driving in the desert. Like it's something you would obviously never do anywhere else. I've only done it twice, but it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend if you're living in the UAE, get out in the desert and drive the buggies. It's great fun.
Favorite cheat meal?
I'd probably say I'm a hamburger guy now, or a pizza guy, but I'd probably say I alternate between the two because I get sick of the same one over and over, so I do change between the two.
Any specific companies or
Yeah,
brands?
I like the Pizza Factory and Burger Place.
Plug on that one?
Yeah, I do have a friend who does own it, and then actually her sister owns Meet Me There, which is a burger place. So I want to plug them both. So Sogo and Sophia, if you ever do watch this, Meet Me There, Pizza Factory, best in the Gulf.
You got more connections than an electrician. If you could be known for one thing, what would it be?
I guess, I'd like to think that one day that I'm the expert opinion or the expert in men's health and fitness in the Gulf. I do love training women and working with women as well, but I get men's health is sort of an avenue that I'm always passionate about because I feel that I know the most about it because I've been able to help myself. But yeah, men's health in general.
Okay, that's a good answer. What's in store for the next 12 months?
I'm getting married in May next year. So I guess everything prepares towards that. But in terms of business, obviously I'm trying to grow this company that I've started now. So the goal would be to have an additional 5 trainers next year. So by the end of next year, to have roughly 7 to 10 trainers working for me. And then from there, the dream's always been to open a training facility at some point. Not a big gym, just something small. So I guess in the next 5 years, I'd like to have a gym as well.
Favorite movie and action star?
I've always been a big fan of Stallone in Rambo. Yes, in terms of action stars. The guy's just a weapon. I do like Jason Statham as well. In terms of films, I love Blood Diamond.
Yeah, it is a good film.
Yeah.
This one is squats or deadlifts, but when I was writing this one, I thought maybe for you, maybe leg press.
No, I like hack squats, to be honest. If to choose between the squats, and I do both squats and deadlifts, but I do more hack squats than regular squats, and I definitely do more Romanian deadlifts than I would do conventional deadlifts.
Yeah. What's one thing your clients would be surprised to know about you? It's a tough question. Any secrets you want to let out?
I like to think that I'm quite an extrovert and I'm a bit of an open book, so I don't really keep too many secrets. I generally practice what I preach, so that's a hard one. I do say to people, never press the snooze button, but until recently, I've been a big proponent of pressing the snooze button. But snooze. Until the 5-second rule, I'm no longer a snooze button presser.
I'm going to tell all your clients now. This is the last question. If you could jump in a time machine and give yourself advice when you first walked in the doors of Fitness First in QV, what would your advice be to yourself?
Great question. Probably pay for your parking to start with. For those that don't know, I actually was arrested in Melbourne for sneaking out of a car park in terms of just tailgating out. We did a lot, but it was stupid. We were young, so I wouldn't do that again. But in terms of advice, I wouldn't really change anything. QV was a great environment which fostered a hard work ethic and hard training ethic, which I guess something that I've employed ever since. And meeting guys like yourself and Jackson, all the relationships that I hold very closely now, I'm very fortunate to have people around me who are as driven as I am, who we can talk shop with on a regular basis and always, help each other get better and improve. So, I wouldn't really change anything, but if I was to offer myself more advice, I would say study harder at university, because I didn't study as hard as I used to, as I probably did once I finished university. Only because I was in that age where you're going out and partying too much. So I have my time again. I'd say study harder in university and don't break any laws.
And where can people find out about you or anything you want to promote about yourself, maybe all the people you're connected to? Or
So, look, I'd be great if you could buy Men's Health and read my column, Just Ask Jeremy. It's generally in the back few pages. If you want to get in contact, my website, Adam will put it on there. It's jeremygwyer.com. If you're looking for trainers in Dubai, Adam's a great one. If you're looking elsewhere, I've got a few trainers who are starting with me soon. We're always open for new clients. So these guys are going to be, I guess, products of me. So I'll teach them everything they need to know about training and fitness and health. So they'll be top shelf. Yeah, they will be. I hope so anyway.
Well, that's it. Thanks for your time.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.